How does one simply hate a fighting finisher? Sure, playing as the character is already good enough, but it's the finisher that's the cherry on top of the cake. It's the ribbon on the present. It's the shipping pair to a fanfiction. Okay, let me phrase this better. Fighting finishers can be amazing in two ways, visually and effectively. It's a case of both looking cool and devastating the player. So I decided to make my own list of my top 10 favorite fighting finishers. Enjoy the list. PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale was disappointing. The finishers in this game aren't that satisfying. Most of them are just add-ons to playing. And hey, a merciless tyrant, a gigantic robot, and a psychotic clown were taken out of this list in favor of a cat. The Sony cat, also known as Toro, has a finisher that claws the screen several times before annihilating them off the screen altogether. It might not be the most effective move in the game, but heck, it at least looks kind of cool. And considering that it's the best finisher in the game, that's kinda sad. This next move has a... Sorry, let me try that again. This next move has a... Sorry, my throat's kinda dry. Just what's this next finisher while I take a drink? This move puts a whole new meaning to the term Final Flash. Instead of an inspirational and epic kaboom, Orchard flashes the opponent, giving them a heart attack. How the heck do you even? But you have to admit one thing. That was one flashy move. Marth's critical hit is definitely not the best looking final smash in Brawl. That goes to the Great Ether. But even so, this final smash is much more straight to the point. You just strike your sword, an HP gauge appears, and then your opponent is launched straight across the screen. The most impressive part about this move is that it can one-hit KO a player on 0% damage. And even if you miss, you can still recover and deal proper damage anyways. When they named this the critical hit, they weren't kidding. One simple stab and everyone else flies across the screen faster than the cucumber with wings. It basically transforms Marth into the critical sword expert. Okay, I've barely scratched the surface of BlazBlue Continuum Shift, but let me just say that this game is super cool. Super cool, super cool, super cool. Stuff you, Jared Milton. Ruined the damn moment. Anyways, the finishers in this game, otherwise known as Astral Heats, look seriously epic. I was originally going to give this spot to Ragnar, but then I remembered one specific character. This spot goes to the werewolf himself, Volkenhain R. Helsing.
Behold the power! The full moon! Night has now... The moon shines bright.
As far as werewolf symbolism goes, this is how you do it. A backflip transition into a wolf, doing that howling thing, launching them up to the full moon, slashing them more times faster than I can count, and then just... hot damn! This move does everything that a werewolf finisher has to offer. The transformation, the full moon, all culminates in one seriously cool looking heat. Take lessons, Jacob. Mortal Kombat. The series that brought the M sticker to the gaming timeline with its incredibly detailed violence, memorable characters, gory visuals, and of course, the fatalities. So many fatalities could have made it onto this list, such as ripping someone in half, spitting acid into someone's mouth, continuous nut punches, Melina. But no, my favorite fatality comes from the most recent game in the series, Mortal Kombat 9. And let's just say, dead or alive would love to see this move.
Baraka wins. Fatality.
Baraka impales you with his arm blade, holds you up, spins you, and then holds up his other blade while all your limbs and head are sliced clean off. Wow. Mortal Kombat just got more gruesome and made players dizzy in the process. And how could I end this segment without making the obvious joke? I don't know much about the Castlevania series, but I know enough to make a quick judgment. Let's see what it is there. Yeah. Anyways, the finisher that I favor the most in this game goes to Aeon, or Eon, however you want to pronounce it. He still wins.
This will just take a minute. Not even the storied Belmont clan can stand against the power of time. And time marches on. Right on time.
I have various things I like about this finisher. Eon stays completely calm about his actions, almost as if poking you with needles is just an everyday sport for him. It makes this move a lot more cool-headed. It's not really panicky, he just casually walks towards you and then just attacks you. What I also like about this is that with every character you use this on, there's different things that Aeon says about them. Aeon practically stops time and summons a giant blade above the opponent, summons smaller blades around them, stabs them in the clockwise direction, and then the 13th hour of the clock is the massive sword that was placed above the opponent, which simply drops down and knocks them out for good. I guess you could say I'm ending the segment right on time. Oh come on, how could I resist?
Feel the love of the hyper combo, and it's a home run! This is the hyper combo.
Don't get me wrong, Phoenix Wright's hyper combo is awesome, but Deadpool's fourth wall crisis is just so incredibly unique. In fact, this move probably has the most fitting name for any move on this list. At first, Deadpool strikes a questionable pose, then he whacks the opponent with his health bar and finishes them off by picking up the hyper combo bar and scoring a home run in an explosion of epic fury. And as if he hasn't damaged the fourth wall enough, but Deadpool just says the funniest line in the game.
I get the cover of the next Street Fighter for this, right, Capcom? Right?
If Final Fantasy characters had finishes, what would Sephiroth's be like?
I bring you despair. Damnation to all.
The Supernova to Sephiroth is like the Omni Slash to Cloud Strife, except so much flashier. It's basically a homage to the original move from Final Fantasy VII, with the name and the planetary surroundings. Sephiroth just produces a regular sword, except this time when he slashes it, it knocks them into the sun and destroys the meteorites around it. The sun grows larger, and Sephiroth strikes the same pose as when he burned down the village in Final Fantasy VII. Considering the references to Sephiroth in this finisher, this makes up one seriously cool X-Burst. Eternal Champions Challenge from the Dark Side is an underrated fighting classic, and for a game on the Sega CD, this game had so much hardcore detailed violence that it could challenge Mortal Kombat at it any day. In fact, out of all of the games on this list, a character's finisher really depends on which stage you're fighting on. My favorite comes from the stage Washington DC. You throw your opponent onto the manhole, then it blows up. You see the silhouette of the character falling in the distance, followed by one of the most gruesome deaths ever conceived in a video game. Wow, I mean seriously, this game already had clown cars spurting out blood, various sword traps cutting you to pieces, but this, you literally see the insides of whoever you just annihilated. For its time, this game had so many brutal overkills, using every way of death, radiation, car crashes, being eaten by monkeys. Ugh. Despite this, however, there's one more finisher that I like. Injustice Gods Among Us. What can I say? No, seriously, what can I say? With famous DC characters in a fighting game, this installment is quickly becoming one of my favorites. I don't own this game, but when I did play it at my friend's house, there were several super moves that caught my eye. There are so many good finishes in Injustice that it really comes down to choice on this one. For example, the Flash's finisher, where he runs around the world several times before punching you in both ways. Or Doomsday's finisher, where he punches you through the earth and back up again. Or Era's finisher, where he puts you into a field with raining arrows and then crushes you with his hand. Or Aquaman's, where he summons a whole ocean, impales you and then feeds you to one of the sharks. Wait, what?
Holy shit, son!
Aquaman's Atlantean Rage is my favorite fighting finisher of all time. I mean, seriously, I just explained what happens in a super move, but really, the screen gets flooded, he stabs you with his staff, and holds you up so one of the sharks consumes you. There may be better moves in the fighting genre, but this is just me. You don't compete with intentionally feeding someone through the sharks. I am MasterJakeStudios, and if there's something you should have learned from this video, it's that you never fuck with sharks. I promote an end to this video. See you guys soon.
How many monkeys can I see? How many monkeys are around me?